And just another sidebar, we're, again, working in healthcare, our wheelhouse is not technology. Um, we're learning as we go and fumbling as we go because that's what makes us human. And so we are not some supernet internet influencers. We're just like everybody else, just loving connecting with people and finding purpose. And so that's what we're doing. So we're glad you're here. And we're always looking for feedback, what people want to hear. We're also totally available if you want some one-on-one time uh, to talk about something specific. If we didn't cover it, sometimes our format is just fireside chat, and just I should actually call it right now swimming pool chat. Um, uh, but just, we'll talk about anything. I don't care if it's, anywhere from, um, what's a great route and what are some great spots in Wyoming to perimenopause. It doesn't matter. We can talk about anything. Um, and so
So I just shared, if you guys um ever keep this on hand, if you guys ever want to just chat, and feel free to do a one-on-one call with us. We're happy to be there for you. So um yeah, keep that available, or just reach out to us.
one of those things that, we figured after we left our careers was, finding purpose. And would have never predicted it would have been in van life. And the people we meet on the road, it's just been amazing. 3 years of just amazing experiences and connections. And when we're in our home base of Bend, Oregon, we have people who come through. They come park in front of our house and get a good shower and some laundry and a cooked meal. And we just share stories and tips. And so it's awesome. Anybody have any questions or anything? Like Amy said, throw it in the chat. If you have anything you want to say, just chime in. Um,
And so while you guys are thinking, I just wanted to just make a couple announcements. We're gonna try to have like a challenge coming up, a 7-day challenge. So it'll be, keep an eye on the Facebook group. We'd love some engagement and just more sharing with one another. So keep an eye out for that. And anyone who finishes the 7 days of the challenge gets a little sticker from us. So woohoo! Um, and what else? Oh, our call in 2 weeks. I'm gonna be at a funeral, so Marcy, it may end up being canceled, just to let you know, or we may try to reschedule it, but wanted to let you know that. And then yeah, we're also trying to figure out whether or not to go live, to do Zoom, and I might put something out there on the Facebook page just to see what everybody wants, because we want people to have um the ability to come back to this information. So if
okay.
anybody has suggestions, that'd be great. Um, otherwise,
Yeah,
let's jump in.
let's talk electrical. Um, I don't even know where to start with electrical. Who, just kind of by raise your hand, do you have a good understand? Who doesn't have a good understanding of how things work in the van? All right. Good, good, good. All right. Yeah, I mean, I will give the disclaimer. We are definitely no experts. I will always have that disclaimer. We're learning as we go, and kind of doing research. And we put a document online today in the files that we put together. that we hope everybody finds a little bit helpful.
So you might, if you want, while we're on here, if you want to look in the files on the Facebook page, it's there. If you're a visual learner, feel free to look at that while we're talking.
Yeah. Again, I have to reference my document here because again, I'm absolutely no expert. Um, and
We just kind of know where to get the information, so we're happy to pass it on, but yeah, we're no experts. So let's talk it out.
I mean, there's so much terminology, and this happened with us, okay, some things run off of 12 volt, some things run off of 120. I learned that the old original terminology used to be 110, but it's actually 120. And then there's things like AC/DC. I'm sure we've all heard references to that as children, or like, oh, that's a rock band. Um, and yeah, you can always tell how old somebody is when they reference AC/DC. And so there's all these terminologies that are packed into our vans, and so I think having a basic understanding of how it all works, um, without getting into the terminology just yet, um, most of the vehicles that we're driving have solar power and battery power. Right? So that I hopefully makes sense. We have the solar on top, and then we have our lithium batteries typically. And then we have all the things within the van that run off of the batteries. And then it's trying to understand, again, what's the difference between um, an AC current, alternating current versus a DC current, which is a direct current. Everything that runs in our house is runs off of AC current, unless we have a device that is using batteries, and that's typically 12 volt. In our vans, we have, again, some appliances that use 12 volt, which means it's actually not pulling as much power. And so when we're in our vehicles, it's all about conserving our power. So we have enough to, on hot days, run our air condition or run Starlink or use our induction cooktops. Um, so I'm gonna stop right there. Does that make sense to everybody? Should I step back and give a little bit more terminology definition? Um, yeah,
I have a question.
yeah.
Um, Thank you. This is already helpful. How do we know what device runs on what? So it's like knowing the van part, but like Marcy, I was in my van this weekend and I'm like trying all the plugs because I don't know which one's 12 volt and which one's 120 and what I can use where. And I don't
Yeah.
know how you're supposed to know that except for to try it, like unless you have a degree in this.
So for example, in our van, all of our outlets, except for the ones that kind of came with the van, you know how you used to be able to plug into the batter or the lighter outlet. You could take your phone charger and put it in. That's 12 volt. So in our van, all of our outlets are 120. And the reason why we know that is because we have to flip our inverter switch. So basically, the inverter, and if you look at what I said, it basically takes your 12 volt DC, your direct current battery power, and converts it. So think of it as it's the translator of the powerhouse. You have two different types of power, and Um, you need 12 volt for some things and then the 120 for others. And so how do you know the difference? Do you have to turn on an inverter in your van?
Well, I figured out because my inverter wasn't charged and I couldn't use certain things until I figured out how to get that charged. But like here's where I get confused. My van has USB chargers also,
Yep.
and those are 12 volt.
Yep.
And the regular plugs like in our house are 120, but I can use either to charge my phone. So it's like not the phone, it's what you're using to charge it. And in the end, maybe I just let go of the need to understand it and just know like these are 120 and these are 12 volt. I just am afraid I'm going to make a mistake or mess something up but I'm
Well,
not sure that that can actually happen.
you're not going to make a mistake with that, and I'll tell you why is because it's not drawing that much power.
Yeah.
And so you're right. We can take the kind of end of our plug and plug it into USB and it does charge by 12 volt. But when you use the brick
Right.
and plug that
That's
in, that is basically managing in that brick to allow you to use AC or 120 electricity. And so it basically is converting it and protecting it from basically blowing out your cell phone. And so the only reason like you really need to know the different, with your wattage is how to use your power and to know like if you're in really hot weather, how much is my air condition going to draw? Can I run it for 8 hours, but is that going to drain my battery down to 20%? And then what's it going to take for me to charge back up to 100%? And so for the little things like plugging in your phone or your computer, um, those things aren't going to be drawing as much. Um, the things for us, so again, so we flip on our inverter and that allows us to use our induction cooktop that heats up it's our hot water heater and it's our outlets. So those are the only basic appliances or things in our van that run on 120.
The
Uh,
rest are 12 volt.
the rest are 12 volts. So our air condition unit is 12 volt.
Fridge.
Our refrigerator is 12 volt. Our water pump is 12 volt. Um, and so, for example, and I'm sure we've all had this happen, if you don't have the GFCI or the protection in your kitchen, and you turn on the toaster and run the microwave at the same time, and if it's on the same circuit, it's going to blow. Sometimes you have to reset, your main panel because you've had too much power being pulled at once. And so the thing to be careful is don't use your 120 don't plug in and use a blender. Well, if you have a hot water tank that is also charging, you're going to draw way too much and then that's when you trip a circuit. So the circuits are there to protect you so you don't blow up your appliances, so to speak. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, really understanding the things that are plugged into the 120, those are going to have a greater draw. I'm going to give you another example. So, our induction cooktop, for example, if we start at, say, 100%, and we're cooking a full meal, we might, at the end of the meal, we might be down to 80% as a result. So in a short amount of time, it pulled a lot, which means it had a lot of wattage and amp hours that it was pulling um, in order to heat that up. So then we actually got an Instapot and what we discovered is one, I can go online and I can see how much power an appliance pulls. And I was able to I was able to calculate. And what I learned with the Instapot was it has a buildup stage where it's drawing a lot, but then it levels out and it's not pulling that much power. And so after about 15 minutes, instead of going down 20%, we went down like 6 or 7%, which was huge. Um, Now this is fine. If the other place that this all comes into play is, are you going to be plugging in at campsites? Are you going to be driving? Um, or are you going to go off grid for a week and then you have to manage your resources? And so, if you plan on going somewhere boondocking for the night, using a whole bunch of stuff, and say you go down to 65%, but the next day it's going to be a sunny day and you're driving 6 hours, you're going to charge back up. And, so then you don't really have to worry about it. And again, another example, I'm a visual person, and so I like examples so I can imagine it. One of our first trips was in Utah in the springtime, and we did not have 1 ounce of sunshine for 5 days that we were there. And we didn't drive the van at all. Um, but we were using stuff. We were heating up water. We were cooking. We were running the heat, um, and all of those things um, were using power. And by the fifth day, we still had about 20-25%, but we were conserving. We were really mindful of what we were using. Um, but we also knew that we needed to start driving. And one thing I hadn't said was, so the other way, so as I said, we have solar and we have lithium batteries. And this, I like to think of the solar as kind of, it's 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 adding more to our battery power, but the bulk of it comes from driving. And so, because we didn't drive, we weren't charging our batteries substantially. And so the managing of your power kind of depends on how you're going to be using your vehicle. Like right now, our refrigerator's working really hard to keep things cool because we're in 105 degrees. And we have great sunlight. So like last night we ran the fan. We didn't sleep in it, but we ran the fan all night and we were down to like 86%. Um, but within a few hours we were back up to 100%. Um, so yeah, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to have Amy read a couple questions because um, with my 50-year-old plus eyes, I can't see the questions unless I stick my face up to it. And she keeps pointing at me to read them, but I can't read a
All
thing.
right.
So I'm gonna
Um,
stop there.
All right. So Colleen said, what about the pull of the mini fridge from the battery to constantly run and keep things cold or frozen?
Yeah, so good question. So again, it's going to come down to, do you have a 12-volt refrigerator or do you have a 120? Again, 120 is going to be our refrigerators in our house are all 120. They go into a regular outlet, and are pulling a lot of power. That's why they always say when you're in your house and you're going away, like unplug things from the wall because they're still drawing some power. Um, so if you want to know, there's easy ways you can go online and say, well, I have a 12-volt refrigerator. How much is that pulling in a 24-hour period? And so say you have a total amount of battery life, and you can actually get the calculation of saying, well, to run your refrigerator, which we do 24/7, it's actually taking up, say, 2% of your battery power. But we're always getting that back from the solar, um, and or by driving. So, I don't know if
Does
that,
that answer the question, Colleen?
Yeah, it's just super interesting to hear how you're figuring it out. And then, I know there's like things that coolers that can freeze stuff. And it's just my biggest concern, researching everything is like having food and then it going bad because you used all your power or it's just all good.
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a two-part question. Uh, like we've never run out of power. We've
Right.
always, again, if you're driving, you're charging.
Yeah.
Like the, you know, if you want to be off grid for 3 weeks and not drive, that's a different story. Then you need to be prepared a little bit differently. Um, you can again look at the different components and say, well, about how long can I be off grid if I'm getting, you know, 50% of what I possibly could get because it's not always sunny.
Mhm.
There's ways to kind of look at like what's the maximum power you're going to get from your solar if it's perfectly sunny. If it's partly cloudy, then it decreases by percentages. Um, I mean, thanks to the internet, it's really easy to pull this information off of it,
Yeah.
which is exactly what I did when we got an Instapot because I was like, well, God, how many watts is an Instapot? And, can we draw and do that? And I was so amazed at how it worked, watched it the whole time.
Very cool.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. So Jennifer said, do you turn the inverter off when you aren't using it? You're not cooking, etc.
Yeah, we do. We turn ours off. I think it probably uses a little bit of power. But from the get-go, we've always turned it off. I mean, like I said, we hardly ever heat up hot water. And I'm going to give you a tip on this one that took us a year and a half until somebody told us. So what we would do, this is a perfect example, is so we would be driving, we'd get to a campsite and we'd be like, oh, we want some hot water. And so we're at 100%. We flip on our inverter, we flip on the water heater and keep it on for 30 minutes. Meanwhile, it's sucking down our power bank. And great, now we can take a shower. We have hot water, but now we're down to 80%. We did this for a year and a half easily. And then we were at a van meetup and we were talking to this guy, and he's like, oh, interesting. Have you ever tried heating up your water while you're driving? And then when you get to your campsite, you're at 100% and you have hot water.
We're like, that's brilliant. Like, why didn't we not figure that one out? You just drive and charge and you get there and you have hot water.
I mean, these are the things that you're just like we just want to share with people. A lot of people already know that, but I mean that would have just never occurred to us to heat up our hot water while we're driving, while we're at 100% and it's kind of maintaining its 100%. That way, we're not getting to our campsite and turning on all these appliances. We've met other people who will hook up their Instapot, put it in their sink to keep it secure, and cook while they're driving. So again, even though that might take up 5 or 6% or 8%, it's not by the time we get there. And
You're
so,
charging, you're in the sun. Yeah.
um, so there's this learning curve, and uh, we're just our hope is to share it so you have less of a learning curve.
The other thing I was going to say was you were looking at like the pull of Starlink being on 24/7. Do you guys have Starlink? Maybe raise your hand
Yeah.
if you have Starlink.
Yes.
Couple.
So she's not on here, but we were talking to a woman the other day, and in her van setup, um, the way it was built out, they put the components behind a wall. And so her Starlink runs 24/7. Um, and so she couldn't figure out why, she had all of this battery power, but she was basically going down by 24 or 25% a day because of the Starlink, but it's not like she uses it 24/7. Um, I think the guy she bought it from, he worked and he worked a lot remotely, and so that setup worked for him. But in terms of conserving power, um, uh, that that personally would not work out for us. And so I plugged in the numbers and did the conversion for how much Starlink used, and I couldn't believe it. It uses a good chunk. Now there are ways to convert your Starlink to 12 volt, so it's drawing less power. There's a conversion kit, but I've also had mixed reviews on how that works. So we've never done that, and we've definitely, if we run our Starlink all day, we can definitely see how much it draws. But again, if you're in sun, you're probably not seeing as much of the draw versus like especially overnight when there's no sun and you're not driving, you wake up and your battery is down substantially, and that's from a 120 being plugged in and pulling power all the time. So anyway, hopefully that answered it. And if there's more questions.
Steph just said she uses a third-party cord that has has a DC connector instead of a 120 plug. That's awesome.
Oh,
That's a great idea.
and do you notice any difference with the no, okay. Good to know. That's really good info.
Cool. And then Leslie Ford, I haven't figured out what power source to install. So far I've camped mostly where there are hookups. How did you go through that decision-making process?
Well, um, one, we didn't build out our van. We found a company, which you'll end up seeing this in a bunch of our posts. And I'm sitting here wearing a Nouveau t-shirt because I'm a groupie, for the company that built out our van. Um, our van, when we had it built out, it came with, all the different things. And so what typically comes and what people tend to put in their builds are batteries, solar, and then you need all the things that go along with converting the power. And hopefully you guys will all have a chance to look at the document, because it kind of spells out the different components that are needed.
And I can share it really quick if you guys.
Yeah, I bought a Pleasure Way. It's a old Pleasure Way. And it much to my surprise when I was getting it checked out beautifully, except for they said, "Did you know you don't have a generator?" And I went, "Oh shit." So I haven't done anything yet about whether to do solar or just bigger, get new batteries. I have to get new batteries anyway, get good sized lithium or what to do.
Yeah, so we don't have a generator. We also are really happy. And again, when we were searching for a company, the other thing we didn't want was propane. Um, and I mean, do we like cooking on gas? For sure. Um, but for us, we just didn't want one more thing that we needed to deal with and worry about and get something else filled up. We ran out of propane, and to our surprise, the induction cooktop is amazing. It works really fast, and now like I said, we have an Instapot. We got the 3-quart Instapot. which is perfect for carrying around in the van. Um, Again, it all comes down to how you're going to use the vehicle. This is what we tell everyone we meet is like, we're not attached to what type of build you go with or what company. It's just, are you going to be going to a lot of campgrounds and wanting to plug in? Um, well, then you want to make sure you know, you have batteries and that you have the appropriate hookup so you can plug in at campgrounds. Um, that I failed to mention, aside from the sun and driving, the other way to charge the batteries is also plugging in. And so we have all three of those things. So we have solar and we have lithium batteries. And so the three ways to charge those batteries are the sun, driving, and plugging in. And we also, the other funny thing for us, and the company thought it was funny, was we never took our plug and plugged in. We never plugged in for the first 2.5 years. We didn't even take it out of the packaging. We didn't need to between the batteries and the solar we were fine. And the company, because our van is 3 years old, we actually have less power than their current kind of base build. And we've never found the need to have more. It's just for our needs and how we use it. And we mostly don't go to campgrounds. I would say maybe we have plugged in 5 times in 3 years. Um, Half the time we were at a campsite and it did have the ability to plug in and we just never even thought to plug in. Now, the disclaimer is once we did learn about plugging in, we realized how quickly it charges your batteries. Um, so that was good information for us. And I say that because we were in a hot place and running the air condition, even a 12 volt all day, is going to use quite a bit of your power. Um, and uh, and honestly, 12-volt air condition doesn't work that well when it's 110 outside. Um, so another thing to keep in mind in terms of how you're going to use your vehicle, we chase the weather the best we can. Um, but I think asking the questions like, do I need a generator? But really, how are you going to use the vehicle? Are you just a weekender, or are you going to live in this full time? Um, those are important questions to ask yourself. Any other questions that I can't see?
No, not that I've seen. No, I'm just curious how you guys are feeling. Like, do we need to go over AC, DC? Do we need to go over like the whole flow of electricity in the van? Um, what what needs to be uncovered here?
Hey, guys, you know what's got me really confused is just the whole inverter thing. I don't get it. Like, I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
I see it up there. I'm like, okay, AC power turn on, and then when I go to turn it off, I see inverter and stuff like that. I'm just like, oh, w- when, why do do I do I use that? That's got me
Yeah.
perplexed.
Again, you think of our batteries and they make power, and there's kind of two different types of power. Um, there's the 12 volt, which uses direct current, and I don't imagine you want to get into talking about how electrons move in one direction, but what it is our vehicles are our homes. And some things don't use that much power, but in order for us to live in our home, we have to have things that use a lot more power. And so if you think of, say, 12 volt is someone speaking English, but the minute you want to use 120 volt an appliance, you need a translator. And so think of the inverter as your translator. So in order to run, um, plug in and use a blender, you need higher energy power for that. And you need the translator in order to make that and convert that power to 120. I don't know if that was a good analogy or not, but that's what
Oh,
popped in my
yeah.
head.
Maybe can I add?
Oh,
I have a
Yeah.
lot of electricity in my airplane, and we have many inverters, and the inverter's job is to convert the electricity from from the DC to the AC. So you have your solar panels making what I guess DC. Now you need to convert that to AC. So
Yep.
it's what you said, but it converts it. Does that make sense? Does that add? I don't know.
No,
Yep.
That's my 2 cents.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. I guess it's just a matter of like, do I want to use it? Do I need to use the inverter?
You only need to use the inverter if you're going to be using the 120 like your outlets. And if you're just using the 12 volt appliances or plugs that you may have, then you don't need the inverter. It's only if you want that higher
Because
voltage.
because we need that higher voltage in order to run our induction cooktop to heat up our water heater. So, I mean, I suppose you could have a build that doesn't have those things. So it just, I mean, some people do their own builds and they do bare minimum, and don't need any of that. And they're happy with just being able to plug in their phone and charge it and maybe have one of those Coleman stoves with a little propane canister and they cook outside their vehicle. It just depends on what kind of appliances you want to use in your vehicle. Because again, the three things that need to get converted for us are our outlets, our induction cooktop, and our water heater. So, do you have a build currently? Do you have a van?
Yeah. This is Vanessa. Hey.
Oh, hey, oh yeah, of course you have a van. Hello.
Yeah. So,
Duh.
so it's just a matter of, so, when I'm looking at it, so like if we go to use the inverter, the stovetop,
Yep.
the induction stovetop, normally we just like we'll have the AC on, the AC power on.
Yep.
Because we'll have to microwave something or whatever. So
Yep.
are you saying so we could turn that to inverter and use the stovetop, and that would reduce the battery draw, the power draw?
So no, and your setup is a little bit different than ours, and also Renee, you could totally chime in. Uh,
Right.
I don't know, do you have to turn on your inverter in order to use your microwave or induction cooktop, or does it automatically come on?
Yeah, no, Vanessa. Of course, she has a van. She's got van in her name.
I
Hey,
know.
Renee.
It's the best.
No, yeah. So yeah, your battery, your big lithium battery, they're storing all your electricity, and then you want to turn on the microwave, which is plugged into your 120, right?
Right.
So in order to get that power from the battery to the microwave, that's what the inverter is going to do for you. So yes, it needs to convert that energy, and so yes, it has to be turned on.
Oh, okay.
But and I tell people like when they rent my van, I'm like, if it doesn't work, just turn the inverter on. That's as a cheat, right?
Oh, okay. I'm
You know
gonna,
what I
gonna try that. We just got back, but I'm gonna try that with the inverter.
what how have you been using it? Or not?
It's already on. It
It's
must be
already,
on.
Just
You're
stays
leaving
on.
it on.
yeah,
If you're using a microwave, it must be on.
well, it's just on AC. So when we turn on the AC, like everything comes on when you turn on the AC, right? Microwave, that the
Yeah.
outlets, everything comes on. So the stove comes on
Yeah.
with the AC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's already on.
Could I
Yeah.
pipe in here real quick?
Yeah.
Just so inverters do take electricity to convert power. So by leaving the inverter on, even if you're not making any electrical draw on your system, you will still be using electricity from your battery. That's the reason why you want to turn it on and turn it off. It basically only have it on when you need it for appliances. It's the reason why a lot of these fans are built out with DC power, is so that way you can avoid that additional power draw that inverters inherently have. So just want to put that note out there.
No, we
Can I ask a follow-up? Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you.
On that, so it seems like the inverter is drawing from, I have auxiliary batteries. So I picture, I can't see them. They're in a bracket underneath. I feel like they're 2-car batteries, like they're 12-volt battery. That's what they look like in my head. And so it seems like the inverter is drawing from those. They seem to charge quickly and easily from the engine or the shoreline. But why? So I was camping this weekend and the inverter was dead and the shoreline fuse wasn't on, which was my newbie mistake. But my auxiliary batteries were 100% and I couldn't understand why the inverter wasn't charging from the auxiliary, and I had no way to cook. So I was like, I didn't bring any non-cooking food. But I don't understand the circuit, I guess. Like the inverter didn't start working until I figured out that the fuse needed to be turned on. And then the inverter was like fully powered.
Yeah. Can I make a note on that? Because
Please.
inverters, they don't inherently hold battery. They're not like batteries. Inverters take the power you get from the battery and convert it to that AC power. So it can send AC electricity to those appliances. So yeah, totally, that was exactly your problem, was your inverter wasn't, you must have had too high of draw on your inverter, so you might have tried to run too many appliances all at once, and it popped that fuse, and that's what caused it to stop. It's got these inherent protections. Most design systems have inherent protections like fuses, but yeah, just want to make sure it's very clear. The inverter, you can't charge it up. It all it does is it takes what it gets of DC electricity, converts it to AC electricity, and sends it out to the AC outlets you have in your vehicle.
So it's like a pass through. That
Yeah.
helps to understand that because when you look at the screen, it makes it seem like it's charged or charging, but it's just passing energy through it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Yeah. Inverters sometimes do have like safety circuits like the fuses, but I've had sometimes troubles where my inverter wouldn't send power to my AC devices because my batteries were too low, and there's an inherent protection because pulling your battery levels too low will damage them, and they can't hold as good of a charge for their forever future. So majority of like inverters, a lot of DC refrigerators have this as well. They have these inherent protections that prevent you from accidentally damaging your batteries permanently.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can I
Thank you.
kick in something too?
Yeah.
So I am not an expert on any of this, but I have been reading a lot lately. And one thing that made sense to me was to think about kind of 3 major components. So you have, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
3 major components. So you have the things that create the power or the electricity, which is usually your solar or your drive, the alternator on your car, or you're getting electricity direct from, shore power or something. So you have the things that create the power. Then you have the things that store the power. So batteries don't create power, they store power, right? So they let you function even if
it's dark or you're not driving or, whatever. They give you however much power your batteries can store. Like you can figure out how many watt hours that is or whatever, and which will tell you, like, if it's 100,000 degrees outside and it's nighttime, how long can I actually run my air conditioner? Right? And then there's the consumption. So that's the thing that you're running. So you've got your appliance, you've got your phone, you've got your computer that's charging, you've got your Starlink, whatever. And then in between, so now you've got your source of power, your solar, your batteries, and then the inverter is, and I can't remember everybody's name. That kind of goes in between the battery, which is the storage, then the inverter, and then the thing. So I don't know if that helps anybody to kind of give it a big picture of which component is doing what. That helped me a lot.
Great.
Thank you, Steph.
Deb, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback. Hi, everyone. Wanted to piggyback off of what Nadine was saying. Basically, also, it's important to know how big your inverter is, because if you've got 1,000-watt inverter and you plug it like a blow dryer into it, you're going to blow it, because blow dryers are usually over 1,000 watts. So you need to know, that's a good piece of information to know about your van, is what size inverter you have, so you can know what and how many appliances you can run at one time without tripping a breaker or something.
Can
Yeah.
you give context to that, Debbie? Like, is 1,000 a lot or a little? What's a big one? What's a little one?
It just, honestly, it depends on your build. And usually it usually will say on your inverter what it is. If you can see your inverter, it will have a little tag on it, like kind of like at the back of an appliance. It tells you what the wattage is. But if not, like, you can go to the builder and research it that way. But usually it says right on the inverter whether it's 1,000 watts. Once upon a time, 1,000 watts was kind of like a little bit of a standard, I think, and then they've kind of started getting bigger and bigger as we've gone. So it just depends.
I want to give you an example that I had pulled. So, for example, standard coffee maker pulls 1,000 watts. Okay. So like for ours, our maximum at one given time is 3,600 about. So if a coffee maker draws 1,000 watts and we turn on the microwave as our coffee is being made, and a microwave is pulling about 1,200 watts. So now we're only up to 2,200. And then a laptop draws about 100 watts. So think about how much power it needs to plug in your laptop versus how much power in order for a microwave to operate. So that comes up to 2,300 watts. So theoretically, I could do all three of those activities at one time and not trip our breaker. So another example of too much would be an air conditioner, again, depending on which kind you have, will draw about 1,500 watts. And then a space heater draws about 1,000. So these are high draw appliances. And then if you ran the microwave, the three of those appliances would run you over the 3,000, the 3,600, and your breaker would trip, because you basically, you're asking for more power than I can give you. And we don't want to fry your appliances, because again, we're dealing with electrical, and so that's why the circuit trips. And so that's where it's important to kind of know. And it was really good that you guys mentioned that, how big of inverter do you have, to understand how much of your AC power can you pull at any given time. So like for us, we never use our induction cooktop and our hot water heater at the same time. The two of those draw too much, and we would trip. And this was something, when we got the build, this was like their first point that they drove home to us was, you can do these things, just don't ever do them together. Because that would be pulling too much electricity from something that doesn't have it. So does that kind of hopefully bring things together a little bit more?
I know it is. It's like overwhelming when you're trying to absorb it all. And the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, look at the sheet that's on the Facebook files and read it over. And it's got some definitions in there. So the more you think about it, the more it's going to start to make a little more sense. So I'm just kind of going through this. Is there anyone have questions? Because we're coming to the end here.
I did have a question. I think Dina had said, because my van currently doesn't actually charge when I drive it. So just from the solar or from shore power. And she had said you might have to get a DC to DC charger that connects your solar to your house battery. Anybody want to talk about that at all? And is that something I could do myself, or is that something that like an auto shop should do? Especially given that, like,
Can I
with
tag in on
electronics.
Yeah,
Can I tag in on that?
Yeah.
Because I have a similar system. I only have solar panels. My brother-in-law is an electrical engineer, so I really kind of leaned on him while building my thing out. I asked him about charging up my battery from my car when I'm driving. He says totally possible, but you have to do it right, because there's two things you can do wrong, which is if your solar panels are sending electricity to the charge controller at the same time as your engine is sending electricity, it will like cause it to blow out and like I could start a fire. So there's a switch that basically you have to add into the system to ensure that when you're sending electricity from your engine, that it stops all electricity from coming from your solar panels. So you can charge from one or the other, but not both at the same time. I personally don't feel like I have the skill to do that, so I just ended up not doing it. But it sounds like it could be a dangerous situation if you do it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely don't have the skills, and the skill we do have is to know that the one thing we don't want to mess with is electrical.
We'll try to understand, and that's the extent of it.
In basic speak. But
Therese, did you have a question? You're on mute.
There you are.
I had to go to a different computer to get in, but I came in late. But you said there was a sheet on Facebook that you have covering some basic information about.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I something I need to do is sit down and understand, because the batteries are usually called, have so many amps, and then I know you can convert amps to, am I wrong, volts or watts by a certain, you don't need to know how to multiply that to get something else to change that. Is that in there at all?
Yeah, so the basic terminology, there's a whole terminology page, and
Yeah.
it kind of gives kind of what I like it's written in a version that hopefully makes sense.
Okay.
Not just straightforward technical language, because that doesn't register with me as much. Hey, Dana, hi. So take a look for that document on there. If you don't see it, to send us a message and we can email
Okay.
you. And we're happy, like, please give us feedback on if you find these things helpful, if there's other topics, or if there's a different way we can do it. We want to be able to be there for each other. So
I have mine built out. One of the options is a solar port. So I must, I'm thinking that must mean that you can't directly, that port doesn't work like the other ports that you get. And so I'm thinking it might not be, maybe it's hooked directly to your battery, or, it's converted some way so that energy, like whoever was talking about it, burning up your engine, your batteries or something, because it's too much that you put in there. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely take some more offline because we've been talking about it for an hour and I want to be really mindful of everybody's time.
oh, great. Wow. Okay, you're right.
Teresa, I just put our link again in the chat if you want to schedule a call
Okay.
with us, feel free.
Okay.
And one thing we like to do to end these calls, is,
I'd love to just pick a card and read it to you. So from one of my decks,
meditation deck.
nature meditations. So I just want to just put your feet on the ground, take a deep breath after all of this. Like let's just soak it in. And this one's called The Little Victories. The natural world is full of little victories. We see it when the first bud sprouts from a seed or when a baby bird takes first flight. As we observe each, Earth reminds us that all actions, however small, are part of something greater. Each day holds the possibility of a new personal victory. Allow these moments of accomplishment to remind you of your strength and help fortify your confidence. So today, identify a small personal victory you've had recently. It could be something you've learned, something new you've tried, or something difficult you overcame. What achievement can you celebrate today, and how could this tiny triumph lead to a larger one? So, coming to this call is good, and trying to soak this all in is amazing that you guys are all doing this. So, kudos to all of you.
Think we have this together. If we all hang together, I think we can all get through it.
All right, Dana, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's super quick. It's something that someone else had asked because I missed last week's call on the water thing and I really wanted to listen to that, but I missed it. Are these recorded or anywhere for us to like go back and listen to?
Yeah, we're
I
trying to
don't know.
figure it out. So who was it who
Okay.
suggested that maybe we put it on YouTube? We'll put the recording on YouTube. So I think that's probably going to be an easy way to do it.
We're figuring it
We're
out.
figuring it out along the way.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, you're fine. I didn't know if last week's was recorded, but you're saying it wasn't. Okay. Yeah,
we're
you could either go
Yeah,
ahead.
we're happy to chat with you, and we also put together a document for that.
And I think that's
Okay.
in the
Okay.
Facebook files as well, which it's really, it might explain, whatever you are looking for. So take a look at that,
Okay.
and if you need to call us, let us know.
Do you guys do these calls every Sunday?
We're doing them every other Sunday, so twice a month.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And like we've said, most people don't take us up on it, although we've had a few people, which we appreciate. Is we love talking, it doesn't have to be in this venue. Just feel free to schedule a time with us if you want to talk all things van life or any other topic. We're happy to chat. So,
Or if you want to hang on for a few minutes after the call too, feel free.
yeah, we can all keep talking. And obviously always feel free to leave whenever you got to go. Our feelings won't be hurt. We're just happy that you all showed up, and hopefully you can take something from this, and we made it a little bit easier for you.
All right, I'm going to end the recording now.